Hi there and welcome. My name is Julie. This is Stamp with Julie Baum. I'm going to show you the cards that we made at Stamp Club recently, and typically I would do that on my YouTube channel, but today I decided to go ahead and go on Facebook Live. So perhaps you're catching me live or perhaps you're watching the replay. Either way, I'm going to show you 3 cards that we made in August at Stamp Club. So sit tight while I switch the camera around and then I'll show you the cards and show you how to make them. Hold on. All right, I'm just getting everything set up so that you can view my desktop and watch as I'm making these cards. Watch and learn, or watch and stamp with me. All right, the 3 cards. Wait, just a minute. Let me do one more thing. This will make the sound better on your end. There we go. Phone. Okay, so as I mentioned, in August we made 3 cards, and I'm going to show you the 3 cards now, and then we'll go through how to make each one. So this one, super cute and super fast. You might even see one very similar to this on my Saturday series on YouTube called Simply Saturday. So there's this one made with the Zoo Crew and Zany Zoo products. Then there's this card with bird's eye view and that cute little window cut into it. And then we also made what I'm calling a cheater version of a shaker card. Shaker cards can take quite a while to put together, and they involve lots of layers and some foam tape and all kinds of things. I'm going to show you just like a cheater way to get the same effect of a shaker card, but a lot faster. So we're actually going to start with this card. All right. Let me grab my pieces here. All right, so I am starting with a piece of Pretty Peacock cardstock. And this piece is 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches. And then I'm going to score it at 4 1/4 and fold it down the middle. And so I actually have that one right here. Okay, so here's our card base. Then I have a piece of white cardstock that is just trimmed down a tiny bit smaller. This piece is 4 inches by 5 1/4, and this is actually going to be the inside panel. Okay, so this piece is going to go on the inside. I have a white scrap, just a square scrap of cardstock, and what I'm going to do with this is die cut it before we stamp it. Usually I stamp and then die cut, but I'm going to go ahead and go die cut the square shape for this that we will need. And then I've got this piece of designer series paper, and I want to tell you the name of this packet of paper. To be honest, at first I wasn't really drawn to this design of paper. And then after seeing it once or twice in person, my opinion of it totally changed. So now that I've got the pack of paper and actually seen every single page in person, I'm very happy with it. So it's called Masterfully Made. It is a 12 by 12 pack. It is on page 132 of the catalog. Now, also what I like are sometimes when these pieces of designer series paper, they really are artwork all unto themselves. You don't have to do much to dress this up. And so that's why I chose it for our shaker card. All right, so give me just a moment to go cut this, and then we will put our cheater shaker card together. Okay, the die that I used for the square is from Stylish Shapes. and it's one of the sizes of square. And so I've just run that through my die cut machine, and now I have that square. So I'm going to do my stamping on this. This is going to be turned at an angle like so. And I am using Berry Burst ink. And the stamp set that I'm using, let me double check the name of it in case you're looking for that stamp set. All right, it's called Phrases for All, and it looks like this. All right, so we're going to use a couple stamps from this set. All right, so with my little cutout square at an angle, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the words this way. Like so. All right, that's our main piece for the front. Now let me show you how we're going to do the cheater part of the shaker card. So I have here a clear envelope, and this is either one of the Stampin' Up ones, or it could be one that I got somewhere else in a pinch, but Stampin' Up has these in the catalog. And what I'm going to do is take my piece of designer series paper, and in case I didn't mention this, this is also cut 4 inches by 5 1/4, and I'm going to tuck it down inside the clear envelope. Okay, and I do want it to go all the way to the bottom and all the way to one side, either the right or the left. So I'm going to push it over into the corner. Like so. All right, I've got a little glare here. Let me see if I can clear that up for you. All right, so I've got it all the way down here in the corner and all the way up against the side. So you've got a little bit of a gap over here. All right, now we're going to put our little sprinkles or our shaker pieces inside. So I'm using 2 different elements for that. These are the loose silver sequins. And I told the gals at Stamp Club the other night, you're going to use 2 pinches of silver sequins, and these are going to get dropped down inside the envelope in front of the paper. So I'm going to put my first pinch in and my second pinch in. All right, 2 pinches of loose silver sequins, and then 1 pinch of the loose daisies. Just so we have a few little flowers floating around in our card. All right, super cute. Okay, then we're going to seal up this clear envelope. So the first thing that I'm going to do is remove the backing from the envelope that's already there. It's already provided. And carefully but nice and tightly, I'm going to go ahead and seal that shut. Okay, so that is done. Next thing is we're going to grab our tear and tape. And we're going to use this to fold over the excess of this clear envelope. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to now fold this over nice and tight. And I want to seal it down just to ensure that everything is staying tight, because we've got all those little loose sequins inside. So that piece is just holding that shut. Okay, now we're going to apply tear and tape all the way around the 4 sides, because this is how we're going to attach it to our card base. So I'm going to go across the bottom and the top. And I'm going pretty close to the edge of the card, edge of the envelope, and then the 2 long sides as well. Now, if you're worried about using so much tear and tape at this point, you could probably just get away with this, but I really want this piece holding that flap down. So I'm going to go ahead and add the piece that I need here along the edge. All right, give those a nice press, and then we're going to remove the backing. Now on this piece that's holding that flap down, I'm just going to leave that the way it is because it's serving its purpose already. I'm just going to remove the backing of the 4 around the outside edges. All right, so this now can get centered and laid down right onto my card base. You want to do it with a little bit of care because you can't really move it once you set it down. And like you would be able to if you were using liquid glue, but that would not be a good choice for this card. All right, there we go. We've got that down on the card base, and now we have our shaker element. Okay, so you can see those moving around freely inside that clear envelope. As I mentioned in the opener, in the introduction, usually when you're making a shaker card, you've got some acetate, you've got like a window sheet, and then you've got multiple layers, and then you have to use foam tape because you're creating that window. And so by doing it this way, it's still quite effective, but it's very much easier and faster. Okay, now let's just put the rest of the card together and do our decorating. The first thing I'm going to do is attach this with some dimensionals. All right, so it's kind of a good size square. So I'm going to use 1 on each corner, as well as 1 in the center. Okay. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is coming to you on Facebook Live, but you might very well be watching it as a replay, and I will post this video to my YouTube channel so that you can watch there at your convenience. All right, so here is our little piece with the Stampin' Dimensionals, and I'm just going to go ahead and put this over here to the left and kind of to the bottom. Again, all that design on that beautiful paper is really what is making this card so cute. Here's just our little sentiment. Okay, now what I want to do is come back in with a couple of these loose silver sequins and use them to decorate on here. So because these are loose and they are not already adhesive backed, I'm going to use just 3 tiny little drops of glue. And I'm also going to put a little knot on here with some ribbon. So I'm going to avoid that left side just so I can put my knot there. And this might have been, all right, do you ever leave your glue sitting like this for a little while? And especially if your ceiling fan is on, it causes it to dry there on the end. Since we're stamping on a hot day in the middle of summer. All right, so a tiny dot there, 1 over here, and 1 here. And then I will use my take your pick tool on the putty or the sticky end and pick up my sequins. So there's 1 kind of medium one. This one's a larger one. I'm going to put it down here. And then I've got a teeny tiny one. Let's see if it's upside down. There we go. All right, so there's just a couple of loose sequins to kind of give it some sparkle. Next, let's get a piece of ribbon. Now, I happen to have the very end of a roll of Berry Burst ribbon that has been retired. I really mean the very end. Okay, look at that. But no waste, right? We're going to use all of this up. So let me remove it from the spool. That is going to be quite sticky, so I'm going to cut that off. This is all I have to work with, and it's going to work because I'm just going to tie a simple knot. So on this element, you'll have to find something else that works, that matches your project, because as I mentioned, this particular Berry Burst ribbon has probably long since retired. All right, so I've got a knot, and then I will use a mini glue dot to attach this. So stick the knot right onto the dot, not on the dot, and attach it right here. This little soft crinkly ribbon is very nice. All right, and we used such a tiny piece, and even though we did, I'm still actually going to trim the ends just to make them neat. So I'm going to trim this one and that one. Okay, the front of the card is done. Let's complete the inside next. So I'm going back to my white piece of cardstock and the stamp that says sending hugs and love when words aren't enough. I think that's a really nice sentiment. All right, I'm just using my Memento Tuxedo Black ink pad and stamping this kind of in the top portion. Like so. And then from that same stamp set, there's a cute little heart, and back to Berry Burst. And let's just add a heart. Of course, you could add 2 or 3 if you feel like it needs it. All right, I'm going to attach that to the inside of the card. And I'm just using my liquid glue to do that. That's going to hold nicely. And there we have the inside completed. And that, my friends, is our cheater shaker card. That was one of the projects from Stamp Club. Now let's move on to the second project. All right, this one begins with a fresh freesia cardstock base, again 8.5 by 5.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. And this one is going to open this way. All right, so this is the front, and then I have a piece of this paper. This is actually from, I believe, a 6 by 6 pack. Let me double check for you on this one. The name of this packet of paper is Delightful. Oh, this one. This is a 12 by 12. Okay, so scratch that. 12 by 12. This is Delightfully Eclectic. This is a 12 by 12, and it's a super pack. I mean, it is a large packet of paper containing 48 sheets. So I've cut this piece down to the exact size of the front of my card. So this is 4 1/4 by 5.5, and it is going to get glued right onto the front of the card base. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up with the top edge and the left edge and then lay it down. There is something that occurs when you're cutting paper in bulk, like I always am if I'm preparing for club. And sometimes even though something is the same measurement, by the time you've cut them all, sometimes one or two are a teeny bit off. So the reason that I mentioned lining it up here and here is because now I can check this side and see where it's hanging off a little bit. I can easily take my scissors and trim that to clean it up. So I'm just going to do that. Now I'm just trimming it right along the edge of the cardstock, like so. Okay, that's much better. All right, and then for this card, we're going to need to cut a circle. I am going to use Stylish Shapes once again, and I'm going to step over to my die cut machine and cut that circle. The exact same size die I'm going to use to cut a circle from here. So sit tight while I cut those two pieces for you. There's the first piece. And then as I said, I'm going to cut out a green circle that is the same size. And that one looks like this. All right, so out of the front of the card, I used my Stylish Shapes die, placed it right there, and that's what cut out of the front of the card. And so now we have a window. And then using the same die and some garden green cardstock, then I cut out the same circle, same size circle. Okay, our white piece here is going to get attached to the inside of the card. And that's what we'll do our stamping on. But we do want to get this positioned first, because then we're going to stamp right through the window. And that way our words will be perfectly centered in our little circular window just the way that we want them. All right, there we have our inside panel, and now I'm going to use the thank you stamp. And this is from, let me tell you which set this stamp is from. Circle Sayings is the name of the stamp set. And I'm just going to use my black ink. And then you want to close the card, look down through the window that you created, and stamp the words centered right there. Like so. All right, the next thing that we're going to do is take the bird stamp from Bird's Eye View. And I'm using this one of the little bit larger birds. And I need a scrap of cardstock. Let me see what I have here handy. Here we go. And the bird is just going to get stamped onto the scrap. We're going to do a little bit of coloring and then just fussy cut the bird out. There are no dies or punch for this stamp set, which is really not a problem because it's very fast and easy to cut out. So what I decided to do was just add a tiny, tiny bit of color. You could add more color if it suited you better, but all I'm doing is picking up some of the colors from my designer series paper. So I've got Calypso Coral. I have light Pool Party. And then I also have light Parakeet Party. Pool Party and Parakeet Party. How about that? So what I did is I just added some color in the little feathers. Okay, so like I said, this is super fast. And if you would rather color the bird in more complete, then that is totally up to you. Oh yes, I'll show you where we're going to use that Pool Party. My bird I just did in the orange and the green. All right, so ours is a white bird with just a little tiny bit of color. Okay, I'll use that Calypso Coral on the beak. Then what I think totally makes the birds in this cute stamp set are the little glasses. So I'm going to use these, kind of the cat eye shaped ones, and Fresh Freesia ink, and stamp my glasses onto the bird like so. All right, now what we're going to do is fussy cut this out, and you can do the next step, which is the Pool Party step. You can do it right now, or you can do it after you cut. So because there's two different ways to do it, I'm going to show you the first option. So I'm going to use my light Pool Party and just outline everywhere around my bird. Okay, it's really subtle once it's done. Right when you start, you're like, whoa, why am I outlining this in blue? But you'll see how it kind of gives a little bit of a glow or a pop to the image. You can do this on all kinds of images. Just put that light blue line around it, and it just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of makes it glow or pop. All right, so then we're going to fussy cut this out. So I've got my paper snips handy. And I'm going to basically just cut right into that light blue. So if you were cutting around the black outline of the bird, you would want to leave a little bit of white space, and that's exactly what we're doing. But in this instance, it's blue. I didn't go around the glasses. I suppose you could. On my sample, I did not, and on the card I'm making right now with you, I didn't. But that would certainly be something you could try and see what it looked like. I just thought that it needed the little pop of color around the bird. All right, so you can see how fast and easy this is to cut out the shape of the bird. And you could decide to just cut straight here and not cut in here if it bothers you to get that detailed. Otherwise, you can just come up in here, kind of rectangle it out, and that's pretty fast as well. All right, so there's our little bird. And then what I'm going to do is glue the bird to the green circle. So a little bit of liquid glue works fine to do that. And then this is going to go onto the front of our card right here. And this can either be done flat, or you could choose to use dimensionals. So I'll use dimensionals on this one. My sample in class was flat, so it gives you an idea what each one looks like, and you can decide for yourself. All right, there's our little bird. And maybe just a couple of embellishments to finish this off. And I do want to mention that you're going to see a card similar to this, but not exactly like it, featured on an upcoming Simply Saturday. Simply Saturday is my series on YouTube. Every single Saturday, I put a card, usually a card, sometimes a project, usually a card, up there that is fast and easy to make. The only cards that are featured on Simply Saturday are ones that are fast and easy to make. And so there'll be a similar card to this coming up pretty soon, and you'll be able to find that on YouTube, Simply Saturday. All right, let's set this, we're gonna embellish it, and then we're gonna set this one aside and move on to our last one. Now, I found some retired embellishments in my little container. These were called Genial Gems, and I really like these green ones. So I'm going to go ahead and use 3 of these. And I'm going to use a small one over here. There's like something sticky here. Let's see if an adhesive remover will get rid of that. Yep, sure did. All right, there's that. And then maybe another of the same size. And then I'm going to use a large one. And just that little green sparkle in the gem kind of sets that one off. All right, this was card 2 from August Stamp Club. I have one more card to share with you. This is a card that I cased from someone else. I had seen them do it. I changed it up a teeny bit, but I did case this card and plan to make more of this design. This was a really fun design to make, and you can do it with so many different of your designer series papers. So for this card, I started with a card base, once again 5.5 by 8.5, and it is scored and folded at 4 1/4. This is basic black, and this card also is going to open in this direction. So then I have a piece of designer series paper, and this is from thru. And it is cut down just a little bit smaller than the card base. So it's 4 inches by 5 1/4. It's going to get attached to the front of the card. These papers in this collection are so adorable. On the one side, there's super cute prints with little critters doing all different kinds of activities. And the back side are black and white designs. Initially, when I first bought the designer series paper, I just went ahead and bought 2 packs because I knew I wanted to use all the black and whites, and I knew I wanted to use the fronts. So otherwise, you're going to find yourself stuck. You're going to use this piece and be like, oh, I really wanted to use that one. All right, the second piece of designer series paper from that same packet, this is cut. Let me give you the measurement because it's a little bit weird. This is 4 7/8. I'm making sure that it's right. And by 3 3/4. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to split this into 4 equal pieces. And so in order to do that, I'm going to bring in my trimmer. We're going to work in 1/16, which I try not to have you do when you're following along on a tutorial, just in case that kind of, gives you that extra headache of having to do the math and look at the tiny little lines. But there was no better way to do this. So we are going to cut this at 1 3/16. So if you are not comfortable in reading the 16ths, what I told the gals to do is go to the 1 1/4 mark and then back it up to the first small line, and that is 1 3/16. Okay, and that's going to get cut. Then I'm going to do that again, 1 3/16. And again at 1 3/16. All right, so now we've made our 3 cuts for our 4 pieces. Now that I've moved those, I want to make sure that they go back in the order that they started in. So all we've done is taken a really cute scene and we've chopped it up. Now, when we put it onto the card front, we're going to leave that little gap in between, and it just kind of makes it look really artistic. So the first thing I'm going to do is a dry fit, because I want to lay these out right about where they're going to go. I'm looking at the space here in between. I'm hoping that the ceiling fan, which is blowing here in my stamp studio, is not going to blow these away. As I'm laying them down, we should be okay. All right, so that looks pretty good. It'll probably end up going a hair to the right, but what I'm going to do is leave those in place, and I'm going to start with this one. You can work left to right, right to left, whatever you want, but I kind of feel like if I use this one, I've got a guide on both sides, so I can best to my ability get it put back right down in the same spot. All right, so there's the first one, which is probably always the hardest one. All right, now we're going to go with this one, and then I'll do my 2 pieces on the edges. I think the liquid glue is pretty important here because you might set it down and need to slide it a teeny bit one way or the other, and you will be able to do this if you're using liquid glue. It's a little bit more challenging if you've put a piece down using your Stampin' Seal. Okay, so now I'm on the right side. So can't you just imagine the design of this, cutting your piece of designer paper into 4 panels and then attaching them to the card? Look how cute it looks. You can still see the scene, but it just looks interesting split apart. All right, and the 4th panel. And it is our last one. Okay, there we have the front of the card. And now let's go ahead and insert the white panel on the inside. This piece is 4 inches by 5 1/4. I think it needs it on a black based card because you're going to want to be able to either stamp and or write something on the inside of the card. So there's our white panel allowing you to do that. Now the last piece we need to do is the front. This is going to be a birthday card. I'm using Happy Birthday to You, and this is from that same Zany Zoo stamp set. I'm going to use, let's see if I have scraps here to grab. I need a scrap of Parakeet Party, and I need a scrap of black. So let me grab those. I don't have it here in my bin. Ooh, all my scraps are pretty big. Okay, so I've got scraps. This piece is certainly not a scrap. It's kind of big, but that's okay. And what I'm going to use is the Stylish Shapes dies. Again, they've been very popular today. And I'm going to cut out 2 circles. So give me a moment to do that. we've got our black circle. And our Parakeet Party green circle. These are the 2 circles from Stylish Shapes that I used. All right, what I'm going to do is stamp on this little green circle. Typically I would stamp first, but instead, when I was filming this, instead of stamping and then taking it over, I just went ahead and cut my circle. So back to black ink. And we'll just put the happy birthday to you right in the center of this green circle. It's going to get attached to the black circle. And then we're going to reach for some dimensionals again on this. My dimensionals have a way of walking off. Here they are. All right, I think 1 would probably be enough, but it might sag a little, so I'm going to use 2 on here. And then this is just going to go right down here, like so. So you can still see all of that cute pattern. All right, and then I want to show you these. The adhesive backed sparkle gems are so beautiful. And so I'm just going to use a black one of these right on my little green circle here, just to add one little pop of glittery glimmer. There we go. And we have our card number 3 from Stamp Club in August. All right, so here are, let's see, where are all 3 cards? Here are all 3 cards that we made. If you were absent this time, of course we missed you, but I'm glad that you can see the projects that we made. And of course, we'll be getting together in September at Stamp Club again. For now, I just want to say thank you for watching. If you're watching this replay and you want to contact me, please do that. I would love to know that you watched and that you enjoyed the tutorial. And as I said, I will also be posting this on YouTube. And if I didn't catch you on Facebook, I will catch you there on YouTube. Thank you for watching. And until next time, happy stamping.